Hello and welcome to this special broadcast. I'm Akshita Anantagopal and you're tuned into a very special conversation all about securing your future. In today's fast-paced world where financial stability is our number one priority, retirement planning often takes a back seat. But a secure retirement isn't just a wish, it's a necessity now. And that's why we dive into why pensions are vital for everyone and how the NPS, the National Pension System, actually stands out as a game changer in this space. It's my pleasure to be joined here in our studios by Dr. Deepak Mohanty, Chairman of the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohanty.
Thank you, Akshita.
Thank you for joining us here. You'll be, of course, sharing a lot of insights with us. Let me just begin with the basics, Dr. Mohanty. Why do you think pensions are so crucial in today's world? Of course, we all know the financial uncertainties we currently face.
No, as you rightly said, given the financial uncertainty, to have financial security post-retirement becomes very important. And pension is something, it stays with the person and goes with the person. So gives lifelong, financial security. And that we are talking in a situation that you see that if somebody normally retires at 60, so we are thinking of 2 to 3 decades more.
Yeah.
So then unless one provides for it, so it becomes extremely difficult.
You know, we often associate pensions with government jobs. NPS has, however, made significant inroad strides into the corporate and informal sectors as well. So can you tell us more about that, about the strides that NPS has made?
The NPS started actually for government employees.
Yeah.
It was introduced because the pay-as-you-go pension system of the government was not fiscally sustainable. So the government came with NPS for the government employees. But then it was made available to the private sector, including the common citizens since 2009. Anybody can do.
Yeah.
And just last year in September, we have even made it available to children with NPS Vatshalya.
Wow.
A newborn can have a pension. And as we speak, Vatshalya, about 85,000 accounts have already been opened for children.
You know, parents are concerned, but the children themselves may be hesitant in actually focusing on pension. So onboarding is, of course, a key factor for any financial product. So explain to us how really you're going about that process.
Yeah, obviously, because as long as they're minor, it has to be done by the parents. But once they come to the adulthood, beyond 18, so it becomes a normal pension account, and it is also portable. So they go to work, so it can be a workplace pension. Tomorrow they think that they will take a stint abroad. Even NRIs can continue the NPS, and they want to leave both work and pursue something of their own. Still, it can be a personal pension.
You know, the NPS offers a lot of flexibility, whether it's choosing fund managers, asset allocation, or even a mix of equity and debt. So, explain to us, Dr. Mohanty, how does that flexibility actually make NPS a rather unique, a rather attractive product?
Because it's a market-determined product. And so as you rightly said, because that we have all the asset classes are available from equity to debt. And but sometimes choices become very, very difficult. So for that, we have auto choice that we have given, life cycle funds, LC25, LC50, LC75. And recently we have come out with a balanced life cycle fund. So as somebody ages, the equity component comes down in that process. So there are a whole lot of asset choice. Somebody is completely risk averse can go 100% into GSEC, and these funds are doing pretty well. For example, if you talk about the equity segment, and since inception, it is giving an annual return of 13.5%.
Okay, so you've explained. I was just going to ask you really how the funds have performed so far and why really this makes the NPS an ideal choice for actually retirement planning, because many people obviously have that plan B in mind. Why NPS?
NPS because it's a low cost. It's a market determined because you have access to all market instruments which are there. So obviously it's a market determined financial product. But it is a low cost product. The fund management fees are quite less. So which would imply that it is the subscriber or whosoever is opting for it benefits out of that. It is passed on to them. So I mentioned to you equity is giving 13.5%.
Yep.
And for example, we take for the central government employees, which is a more conservative fund, which is a mix of both equity and debt. So that's giving around 9.6% return per annum. So there's a whole range of returns that people can really benefit. And you compare with other returns which are there markets, obviously this is a good return, and it's a well-regulated fund.
Yeah.
So people should have comfort, should not have any worry about the safety and security of the fund.
It's a safe option.
Yes, sir. It's a
Very
safe
safe.
option.
With the new tax regime also making NPS slightly less attractive, let's be honest, what would you say to those who rely heavily on tax benefits, essentially because that's also a deciding factor for investments?
Yeah, the new tax regime is neutral because you can go to any saving media. So it is neutral. So ultimately, one would have to put some money in savings. So as you were talking about the return, so it becomes a natural choice, because when we are working, we have to secure our future. So this becomes a natural choice. But having said that, that if you are in a corporate, like employer and employee relationship is there, and NPS is quite tax efficient. In the new tax regime in the last budget, that if the employer is making provision of NPS for the employee, 14% of salary is tax deductible as business expenditure under Section 36 of Income Tax Act. So employer benefits from that point of view. And similarly, it is also tax deductible for employees up to 14% of their salary. That the money that you are putting into your NPS, it is exempt from taxation, and the returns that you are earning, those are also exempt from taxation. And once somebody is exiting, at that stage, it is exempt from taxation. So it's just a good scheme.
It's beneficial.
It's a tax efficient scheme.
Are there also any plans, Dr. Mohanty, to introduce new asset classes, to go ahead and increase fund managers or adjust investment limits?
Fund managers, we have about 11 fund managers now. So they're all reputed firms, in the financial sector. So what the name? So they are there in the fund, managing that. And that too, the investor, for example, the pensioner has a choice. They can choose any of the fund manager, and in a year they can change the fund manager if they don't like the fund manager, the performance. And in terms of asset class, we are quite flexible because it's not cast in stone, it keeps changing over time. And so including the newer assets, alternate investment funds, REITs, InvITs, whatever is coming now. And now also there's a whole lot of emphasis on the green financing, the green bond. So we have enabled all that. So from the equity, from newer investment, to bonds that people can put money. In the equity market, we have opened only up to 200 stocks, the top 200, the pension funds can put. But these are subject to review periodically.
Of course.
So then, depending on the appetite and how the markets develop, how the instruments are coming, and how they're being priced. So we are open about it.
Okay. Can we also talk about what strategies really the PFRDA actually has in place to increase your subscriber base as well? To put the word out there, get more people on board. Also your projections for growth then.
There is huge potential. Because if we talk about NPS as such, so it is about 1.59 crore subscribers who are there in the NPS. Out of that, from the government are 95 lakh, and the balance, 63 coming from the private sector. So obviously there are a lot more scope for the people from the private sector to come in. And particularly from the corporate, if you're saying corporate employees, there are only 22 lakh corporate employees. But though we have more than 14,000 corporates registered with us.
That's a great start.
Yes. And the other side also, we are expanding the touch points. Obviously, somebody digitally savvy don't have to go anywhere because it is a digitally enabled product. So one can do eNPS straight away. It takes about 10 minutes. Yeah. So, you can do that. You don't have to see anybody's face, go anywhere. You can operate and there is a digital app through which people can see, make their contribution. And but those who are not digitally savvy, they can go to their branch, the banks, they can open there. And of late, we have increased the access in terms of the RRBs, regional rural banks.
Okay.
Rural areas, semi-urban areas, so they have a better presence. So now we have also asked them to do that, and digital, platforms like Zerodha and others. Also, we are also encouraging them to offer NPS to their clientele.
Speaking of retirement, I'm sure this conversation will also instill a lot of confidence in people.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Because this is also another way to enhance people's acceptance.
For people to know more
yes,
also about
absolutely.
NPS. But what we've also seen a lot also when we talk about people who come on board is that women often hesitate when it comes to financial planning. So as per your data, how has the response really been from women towards NPS? Has it been positive?
See, generally, women make better financial decisions. Okay.
Thank you.
But you are right that why? Because this is partly because of the nature of the labor force that we have. Because NPS somehow been associated with the formal sector, salaried job. Because as I was mentioning, it started for the government. But we are trying to reposition that. And in the formal sector, obviously, women employment is less. So what we have seen that in the NPS, women presence is about 25%, 75% are men. But that is changing with the younger demography. I was talking about NPS Australia for the children that we opened. And
so
in
that's
that,
mostly women.
85,000 accounts that we opened, 45% of that are girl children.
That's amazing.
Are girls. So this is changing. And even in the NPS, if you have to drill down a little bit, the younger cohort, 18 to 30, so they're about 30%. So I'm saying in due course, gradually this is going to change, and positioning it to more, not that it is an individual pension scheme, it's for family. You can do for your children, you can do for your spouse. Actually, women need it more than men because the longevity of women is longer.
Okay.
So they need pension more than men, in that case.
My final question to you, Dr. Mohanty, a message for our viewers. And since we were talking about, getting more people on board, understanding and learning the benefits of NPS, why should they actually consider NPS as their go-to pension solution? How easy is it to enroll in the system? And I'll just add a bit here, there's a lot of talk right now about early retirement, about settling down early. So in such a circumstance, why does NPS make sense?
NPS, because pension is a necessity. It is not a natural choice, but it's a necessity. And there is merit in starting early. So that's why you have even started for children, because to harness the power of compounding. So that is there. So everybody should have a pension account for future income security. As you said, that the nature of employment is also changing. That people want to retire early.
Correct.
But then you have to provide for your retirement. In that case, NPS is the appropriate product in the sense there is no limit how much money you can put in there. And there's no limit. You can put anything. It's not that you put 10% of your income on. So you can, there are pension calculators. You say, okay, I retire at 40. I need to maintain my lifestyle, say 1 lakh, 2 lakh per month. How much I should accumulate given the return? So you can calculate and put money for that. So it gives all kinds of options for early retirement and for late retirement. If somebody doesn't want the pension immediately, they have other means to manage. So one can defer pension till the age 75. That provision is there. So it's a flexible, well-regulated, low-cost product. So people should go for it.
Okay. It's flexible, which is great. And you've got me sold, Dr. Mohanty. Thank you so much for joining us here in our studios. It's been extremely insightful and informative speaking with you. And of course, sharing all of your valuable insights. As we've learned today, retirement planning isn't something to postpone. It's something to think about now. And the National Pension System offers a flexible, secure, and a profitable way to ensure that your golden years essentially are worry-free. So you ensure you take that first step towards securing your future, because as we've told you earlier, NPS zaruri hai. Thanks very much for tuning in.